Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new IDF webinar, the first one of 2024. We hope that all of you had a very nice start to the year, and we're looking forward to having many sessions with you this year. So today we're having an Advocacy Academy session on a topic that a lot of people have been asking for us to talk about, which is how to improve communication skills, both when it comes to written messages and also for oral communication. So today the session has 4 speakers. The first 3 speakers today are the IDF Advocacy team. So I'm Beatriz and I'm the IDF Advocacy Manager, and I'm here with my 2 colleagues.
I'm Bruno, I'm IDF Program Coordinator, and this is...
Hello, I'm Isabelle Mercier. I'm IDF Junior Professional Officer, and I'm delighted to be here today.
Thank you, guys. I see that there are 28 people online, apart from the speakers. So that's a very good number, actually. And we know that always a lot of people follow the recording because they are not available to participate in the session live. So also a welcome message from our side to all the people who are not watching live at the recording. So this is a session of the IDF Advocacy Academy. And Isor, I think you're going to tell us more about the Academy.
Yeah. So to introduce the Advocacy Academy again, it's an online platform where we gather all the content that we've developed in our department. It's the place to go where you want to find information and resources about IDF advocacy. We also regularly organize sessions such as this one today that are designed exclusively for our network members, including IDF members, Blue Circle Voices, and young leaders in diabetes. Although this session is now being recorded and everyone will be able to access it later on our YouTube channel.
And moving on, some housekeeping rules from our side. So as Isor mentioned, this being recorded, we remember that for those who want to use Zoom generated subtitle, it's available at the bottom of your Zoom window. Just bear in mind the subtitles are not 100% accurate as they are generated by artificial intelligence. The recording slides and feedback questionnaire will be sent to all people who has registered, and those who attend at least 80% of today's session and respond the feedback questionnaire will receive an attendance certificate. And it happens often that these ended up on spam folders, so we kindly ask you to have a look by February 2. And last but not least, we ask for use the Q&A function to post your questions to the 3 of us or for our next speaker. And we remember that this is intended to be an interactive session, so your participation is fully important.
Yes, please, we need your questions, so you can actually start dropping them, as soon as you can, and we will try to respond as many as possible at the end of the webinar. So, first of all, we're going to start speaking about written communications and especially emails. So we want to give you a few tips on how to write better emails. So all of these that we're going to be explaining today is based on the experience of Bruno, of Isor, and of myself as part of the IDF advocacy team. So as you can imagine, we receive a lot of emails from young leaders, from voices, from IDF members also sometimes, and many of them are very well written, but some others we think that with a few tips they could be better. And we really believe that it's important to write good emails for many reasons. So first of all, it's the main way in which we communicate nowadays, apart from probably WhatsApp. But yeah, in the professional setting, it's the standard way of communicating. And most of the times, this is going to be the first time you reach out to someone. So when you want to establish a new connection, the first way you're going to do that is through an email. So this is actually your presentation letter. So it's very important, this first impression that you're going to make on people. So we believe actually that a good email is going to maximize all the chances of getting a response, establishing good connections, etc.
Now we wanted to also highlight the importance of email addresses. So a real tip here would be when you choose your email address, it's a good idea to use your real name instead of a nickname. And why is that important? It's because it adds more professionalism and gives you more credibility when you are trying to write to someone. And from our experiences, sometimes we receive emails from the network, and the email doesn't match the name of the person we know, and so it can be a little bit tricky for us to figure out who is who, and so that leads us to take more time to answer sometimes. So a good practice really is to use an email address that goes like your name .familyname@gmail.com if possible. It's much easier, and also it helps to add a signature to your email. It looks more professional and it gives you way more chances of getting a response.
So now talking about the structure of the email, the first thing, of course, you need to keep in mind is the subject. Often we receive more emails without a subject that we would like. Unfortunately, we cannot share them with you. But as you can imagine, we and many other people that you communicate on your day-to-day have a really busy, I would say, inbox, and we receive many mails. So in order to guarantee that you receive an appropriate response, and the people you need to contact give the deserved attention, we recommend you to always state in the subject what is the matter that you are writing about. And of course, if there is something that is urgent or it's important or you need feedback, we also suggest that you add in capital letters before the rest of the subject.
So after you open a new email and you write the subject, and please always do it, you will have to write an opening. And again, we get a lot of emails just starting, I want to ask you for this. So we really recommend you, and of course there is a difference when you are writing to one of your colleagues at work or to a friend, because maybe you can be more direct, but normally it's just better to start with a formula, for example, the ones that you can see in there, like dear, with someone that you are more or less familiar with. That's like the standard practice. But yeah, I would recommend you to please pay attention to this. So when you're writing to us, you can write Dear Beatriz, Bruno, or Isor. But if you're writing to someone maybe who is more senior or that you do not know very well, please pay attention to the title. So for example, should you ever write to the IDF president, we recommend you to write Dear Professor Hossein, and do not forget that title. You can go with hi or hello if you are close with the recipient, but maybe it is the case that you sometimes write to an organization and you do not know exactly who is going to be reading that, or you write to your Ministry of Health, for example. Again, you do not know who is going to be getting this communication. So another standard formula is to whom it may concern. So whoever is opening that, will see it. And then when contacting like more relevant people, so if you are contacting the Minister of Health for your country, we really recommend you to go to Google and check what is the best formula, because it really depends on the country. Some countries are less formal, some other countries are more formal. And for example, one possible way would be to the attention of Her Excellency, the Minister of Health. So this excellency part, in some countries it may be like this, in some other countries it may be different. We really recommend you to check on Google, because there are always examples of which type of formula we should be using.
And the introduction of your email is also really important. When you reach out to someone for the very first time or after a long while, it's important to introduce yourself. For example, between us, as we already know each other, it's not necessary. It's not necessary since we already know you, but imagine if it's our first interaction. It's better if you share your name, where you are from, your position, if you are part of a local organization, so we can clearly and quickly identify who you are, and it's more polite as well, and it can help us and other people remember who you are as well. Thanks.
So again, we don't want you to write really long emails, but providing the background and the context. It's really important for your audience to understand where you want to get with your message. So we recommend you that between your introduction and your request, you need to explain the reasons you're reaching out. It's important, of course, as I mentioned, to provide information, but also to be concise. We can tell by experience that long emails, just when we open them and we see like with a lot of paragraphs, we get tired even before like reading them, and this is something that requires practice, and personally something that I have learned since I started working with IDF, how to try to make emails shorter and more straightforward without forgetting to provide the background.
Yeah, what Bruno is mentioning is very important. So again, you need to try to find the balance between providing all of the information that you want to convey, but also try not to write super long emails. And now we get to what most of the people consider the most important part of email. But again, I mean, if you only write this part like correctly, and you neglect all the other parts, the subject, the opening, the background, this is not going to be effective. So we really recommend you to pay the same type of attention to all the structure of the email. So your request, we often get emails, and after reading them, it's not clear for us actually what the person who wrote wants from us. So it's very important to be very clear with what you need from the recipient. So you need to really express, okay, this is what I need from you, instead of just like mentioning something very vaguely and just hoping that the recipient is going to understand what you need from them. If you need more than one thing, we really recommend you to use bullet points. Again, when you see just like a plain text and it's very long, it's very tiring to read, and also your brain does not process everything that well. So bullet points really make it easier to understand that there are different actions that you need to do. If you are not clear with what you need from the recipient, it could be the start of a back and forth between you and the other person, and you really risk losing the attention of the person that you are writing to. Normally, this may not be an issue, but imagine that you are, for example, contacting a company that you want to have as a sponsor for one of your projects. That could be a real pity. So yes, we always encourage you to write very clear requests. And deadlines, that's very important, and you have probably seen in all of the IDF advocacy emails, we always set a deadline, a specific date, even if then we extend it most of the times. But you need to set a date, because if you do not say by when you need what you're asking for, it's going to be at the bottom of the to-do list of the person who is reading the email. So this is something very, very important.
Another tip is to always remember to add a closing to your email. It's important because it adds more courtesy. It's important to be polite. People will be more willing to answer you and consider your demand. Sometimes it can happen that we receive email with just one line and a request from us, and I think it's important to add more courtesy, and it can be also very simple to do. For informal email, you can use a simple thank you, it's enough. And if the tone is more formal, you can always use sincerely, kind regards. This is a small detail, but I can make a big difference and make your communication way more effective.
So, moving on, some tips that we would like to provide. So first, on the content, to avoid typos, we highly recommend you to use some artificial intelligence spelling check tools. There are like tons of them online. Just try to find whatever works for you. Use acronyms wisely. Remember that people may not necessarily know what they mean. So always, if you wanna use them, put between brackets first the what they mean, and then in brackets the abbreviation. We just had like a interesting case recently from a really engaged YLD mentor, but she wrote to us asking what was the meaning of BW, which stands for biweekly updates, and this is like an acronym that we use internally at the department, and we didn't realize before that not necessarily even active people in our network were familiar. And one thing also on content is to provide links and hyperlinks, so it makes easier for the reader to access the information that you want them to access.
Yes, and an example on that is the biweekly updates that you receive. You always see that there are hyperlinks everywhere, so you just have to click, and then the page will open. So yeah, we recommend you to do that also in your communications, because anything that makes the life of the recipient easier is going to be good for you as well. And another set of tips also on content. So we recommend you, when you write to someone, to try to anticipate questions. So you know normally the person that you are going to write to, and you can think, okay, probably this person doesn't know that much about this. So maybe if I write, this person is going to have this answer. Okay, so try to already anticipate these questions and try to answer to that on the original email that you are writing. So for example, there are a lot of people contact other people in their country saying, in our country, there are many people living with diabetes. You can find more information in the atlas. Well, you have access to the atlas, so you can actually check the numbers and add them on the original email. And it's going to be much more effective if the person already sees the million of people living with diabetes in your country, instead of having to go to the website and check for that themselves. Also, something that is very important is to always try to provide solutions, especially when you want something from someone. So do not just present to anyone that you want to work with problems. Do not say, this is going to be very difficult, I'm not sure this is possible. Say, this is going to be challenging, but in my experience, based on what I know already about this, I think if we do this, it's going to work out well. So try always to provide these solutions, because otherwise, if you just present problems, you risk being stuck and not being able to move forward. And also avoid yes and no responses. We get this a lot from people. We send them emails and they respond just saying yes or no. And then they follow up with another email asking a question or saying something. So just try to avoid just saying yes or no or okay, and just try to ask everything from the beginning, or just try to do something to take forward the conversation.
Also, it's really important.
You muted yourself, Isa. Yeah.
Sorry. It's also really important to think about the font and the size of your email, and to use the same regular one, except when you want to highlight something important, you can change the color to make it more visible. And you can also underline the elements of your email that are really important, such as deadline, as we were saying just before, and the use of bullet points is also helpful to give more structure to your email and make it more easy to read.
And the last tip from our side is following up. As we mentioned before, people are generally really busy, so you'll not always get a response on your first email. So we recommend you to add a reminder on your calendar to remember to follow up. Always follow up from the previous email, and don't start a new thread every time. This makes harder and more complex to continue conversations. Respond to everyone on the email. So we see often that when we put other people CC in emails to some network members, when the network member responds, it's only to the IDF team, and don't keep and automatically, because they don't click on respond all just to respond, they ended up deleting the people who are CC from the email. And also something for data protection is that when you are reaching out to a large audience, always use BCC. So in this case, you'll guarantee that everyone will receive the message, but you don't risk sharing some personal or sensitive information, such as email address, with a large audience.
Okay, just a small summary then of everything that we have been discussing. And again, we understand that for most of you, and we are seeing the people that are commenting on the chat are people that write very good emails in general. Some of you here today are even communication experts. So for many of you, this may look very obvious, but we can assure you that for many other people in the network, it is not that obvious, and we really think that this could be helpful. So treat your emails as your presentation letter, because most of the times it is your presentation letter. Choose a good email subject, something that is catchy and that really explains and summarizes what you are going to be discussing and what you're going to be asking from the recipient. It's going to maximize the chances of the email being read and the email being responded. Please follow the structure of opening, background, the request, the closing formula, and the signature at the bottom. And if it's the first time that you're reaching out to someone, please also add an introduction of who you are at the beginning. Also, not very long emails are preferred, but you need to provide sufficient background. So try to be concise and find a balance between including everything you want to include, but also leaving the recipient wanting to know more about you and about what you are talking about. And finally, revise for typos. It's always better when we see an email and it's like, oh, it's very well written, that when you start seeing a lot of typos, because it looks less professional. The recommendation from the IDF team, when you are going to send an important email, again, to a company that you want that sponsors one of your projects, or to the Ministry of Health, share that draft email with a friend or with a family member that can read it and can maybe check a typo that you haven't realized that was there, and that maybe can tell you, look, this looks a bit repetitive, maybe you can get rid of that. It's always good to ask someone external for the opinion. That's it from our side regarding written communications. And now we welcome the other speaker at our event, which is Dr. Jackie Malou, who is one of the IDF vice presidents. Hello, Jackie. Thank you for being here today.
Hello, Bea. Hello, everyone. Very happy and pleased to be here with you today, as this topic is represents a passion to me, and it is very important. So, happy to be here, happy to see many names of people who are dear to my heart, people I know very well, and to everyone here, what we heard until now is really important, the written skills, the written communication skills, but equally important is the verbal communication. So we will introduce that. We will discuss today the role and the importance of the verbal communication. We will discuss and get to know, if we don't know that, the 5 golden rules, or what we call the do's. We will mention the non-verbal communication that by itself deserves a session. You will see why. And the don'ts, as in every element. Then we will discuss how we relate that to advocacy communication. We will talk about the elevator pitch technique, what it is, what it does, how it is useful, and how to present your advocacy strategy in 60 seconds. Then we will see the benefit of good communication skills for patients, specifically for people living with diabetes, and we will wrap up with a conclusion. Next slide, please. So to start, we all need to know how important is the effective verbal communication and what is the role that it plays in health advocacy, serving as a powerful tool to raise awareness. When you want to raise awareness, you need to really convey a proper message, a strong message. It needs to foster understanding, and it needs to drive not a change only, but a positive change. You need to know that the ability to articulate health-related information with very good empathy. People need to feel the empathy, and it needs to have clarity, which will enhance the connection between the advocates, which means in this case you, and the audience. That audience can be 1 person, 10 people, only your doctor, or an auditorium full of people. It doesn't matter. You still need to have good verbal communication skills. And the last point, which is extremely important, especially nowadays, it has been for the last year, and it will for the last years, and it will continue for many years. In the context of health, information can be very complex. I'm sure you know that by experience, by living it right now. And the emotions play a pivotal role. So you do need well-crafted verbal communications to extend beyond a mere dialogue and it needs to become a catalyst or an element of change for the informed decision making, because sometimes we want policy, a new policy, a new law. Sometimes we want to raise awareness. There's always a message there that needs to be well tailored and very strong. And communicating with engagement, and ultimately it will lead us to improving the public health outcomes, hence improving sustainable health. This is the key in this paragraph, sustainable health, which is related to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the UN had set for 2030. Obviously, we will continue that for the next decade as well, because we are not there yet. And specifically, goal number 3, remember that, you will need to know about it, is about good health and well-being, and that's where awareness fits. Next, please. So what is the role? Why is it important to master verbal communication skills? When I say to master them, you don't need to be to have a PhD in public relations. You don't need to practice long hours. You don't need to attend many webinars, many workshops. Sometimes it just takes to stand in front of the mirror, repeat your message, criticize yourself, self-assess yourself, and then see where it takes you. So whether you are discussing your advocacy ideas, as I mentioned earlier, with one person, or presenting to a group, or a huge audience, or maybe talking on an interview, on TV, on radio channels, verbal communication is a must to really convey your message in the way you want it to be understood. And then clearly there is a crucial intersection between effective verbal communication and the health advocacy that underpins our collective well-being. So this strong intersection makes it a must to really have good verbal communication skills. And the last point is about the verbal communication and how it can help in building relationships. You know, relationships will lead to know more people, that will lead to convey better your message, and that will lead maybe to do a policy change, maybe to get something you need for your organization, or just a message, a campaign you want to spread out. So, and that by possessing those verbal communication skills, it makes things really easier for you. And we will be discussing later the golden rules of effective communication. Next one, please. The golden rules of verbal communications, or the do's. What should we do? We need, when we say communication, you need to remember that it goes both ways. When you communicate, you speak, yes, you need the speaking skills, you need the, you know, to master those skills, but at the same time, you need to be an active listener. What does it mean? I'm just not listening to what the other person is saying, or I'm not thinking at that time what I'm going to reply. No, I focus, I listen well, I listen actively, so I understand the concerns and needs of the other party, be it one person, be it a group of people I am in. 2 is the clarity. This is really a key point. If I jump from one topic to the other, no one would understand what I'm saying. But if I focus and I give a clear and concise message, I do avoid by that any type of misinterpretation. 3 is empathy, a very important component. Showing empathy, showing this understanding, showing that, yes, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm understanding. That can foster trust, and it will create a rapport, like a link, like a kind of a personal relationship, even when we are doing health advocacy. And number 4 in the 5 golden rules of verbal communication is positive language. Avoid any negativity. Even if you think of something that is not very positive, the way you express it should be positive. So using empowering language when discussing health issues is very important. Even if you want to talk about a problem in your community related to diabetes, to people living with diabetes, start by saying, well, we've done so much, or you have done, or your organization have done so much, but there is a little problem or a challenge that I would like to discuss with you today. And I'm sure that by collaborating together, we can do something good for the community of people living with diabetes. This is a good example. So even if we're mentioning that something hasn't been done, we need to be positive. Number 5 of the golden rules of verbal communication is the one I mentioned that would deserve a session by itself. It's about the non-verbal cues. It is very important. We will discuss it in the next slide, please. So even when we're saying verbal communication, there is a non-verbal component. So when you're standing in front of your doctor, when you're in a support group, when you're standing on the podium speaking to an audience, a large audience, in all of those, it's not only what you say that people are perceiving. They are also looking at you. They are checking your posture. They are looking if you are doing some eye contact with your audience, and it goes in this way. So you give the impression that you're looking at everyone in the audience, the way you are dressed, the way, if you are seated, the way you sit, your tone of voice, your pitch of voice. There are so many components to the nonverbal communication. If you are blinking, if you are doing like this with your hands, it's like showing some kind of nervousness. That will not make your audience feel at ease. Whereas if you're breathing comfortably, if you have a little smile every now and then, if you're dressed properly, if your tone of voice is showing confidence, stability, and changes whenever that is needed, if you are using your hands to say 1, 2, 3 when you're discussing points, all of those will create the proper ambience for people to really perceive your message about health awareness in the best way possible. I will not go more further on this point, although it is extremely important. So let's move to the next slide, please. Now, what are the don'ts? I believe they are obvious, but let's go through them. Interrupting. If you're talking, you don't want anyone to interrupt you. So put yourself in the other person's shoes and do not interrupt when people are talking. So to avoid disruption, the disruption of the flow of the communications. In your language, you must avoid blaming or judging. So if someone is telling me about a problem, something that is not happening, I will not go and say, well, it's because you were doing things wrong. No, we should highlight the good things and mention in a smooth way what needs to be done. Judging, we need to completely avoid that using adjectives, negative ones. It's a no, it's an absolute no. And rambling, keep your messages concise, straight to the point, on point. Avoid going off on tangents, right and left, and intersecting with other topics. You should not do that. Absolutely not. You need to avoid confusing your audience by giving a clear, concise, and straight to the point message. Next one, please. Continuing with the don'ts, if you show your audience that you are having a defensive attitude, it's not good. So let's say someone tells you, well, I didn't understand well your message. Don't take that as, oh, so I'm not being clear enough. Don't become defensive. Listen, and instead show them that you are a constructive person. You receive criticism in a very positive way, because if we don't listen to criticism, we will never get better. We start by criticizing ourselves, but then we listen to constructive criticism from peers, from our audience, from colleagues. We need to be receptive to that. And in the next point, absolutely avoid sarcasm or insults. Health advocacy is difficult enough to add to it sarcasm or insults. It does not, have room for that. So be polite, use positive language, avoid completely any personal or using sarcastic sentences. So if someone tells me, can you repeat that, please? It's no and not acceptable to say, oh, so you didn't understand me the first time. Okay, I will. It's not you. Not everything is about you. You need to be open in this conversation, get the criticism. Maybe your voice was low. Maybe the person didn't hear well. So you need to say, oh, perfect. I will repeat that gladly. It means this point is important to you. So that's how we receive positively any type of comment. And we should not at any rate assume. So assuming is one of the don'ts as well, because we need to really understand we don't know what the person is thinking or feeling. Let's not assume we know that, because we don't know. So if something is not clear, let's ask for clarification. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. So what are the elements of advocacy communication? Because here in this group, most of you are diabetes advocate, and advocacy for health is different from, of course, the key components are similar in every advocacy, but health advocacy is a little bit more critical as it is personal. It affects the person's life, the health, and everything around it. The essential ones are to have a clear vision. What do you want from your message? What are you hoping to achieve? What is your goal? So you need to have that clear vision. Also, have smart goals. And I will say what are smart. Some of you might know about that. The SMART objectives should be aiming at solving a problem, not discussing the problem itself. Most likely, your audience, the people you are talking to, they know that the problem exists. You just mention it very briefly, but your aim, your objective should be to solve the problem, to offer solutions. And SMART stands for specific. So have a specific point to discuss. Advocacy can be a wide ocean of ideas. Be specific. If you ask for something, make it measurable. You can discuss what exactly you want, and attainable. So if you want to, let's say you're talking about a campaign, don't say, I want to reach millions of people. That's beautiful, but is it attainable? So be realistic with your goals. That is the R in SMART, to be realistic and to be time bound. So the SMART stand for those words that you should think about as your objectives before creating your message. Extensive knowledge of who am I speaking to before going to an event, to a meeting, to be a speaker. I need to know who is the audience. So by speaking to you today, I know who you are. I know we have the BCV members. I know we have the YLD members. I know I have IDF members. This is great. It gives me a real context of how I should address. Most of you can be patients, diabetes advocate, related somehow to diabetes. So I know very well who I'm talking to. And you should, when you go speak to an audience or have a meeting. And the message should be very well compelled and tailored for different stakeholders. So if tomorrow you are talking to a pharmaceutical company, your message cannot be the same as if you are speaking at a support group. Even if the idea you are talking about is the same, the way to convey the message should be tailored as per the audience and who the stakeholders attending or listening to your message are. Next one, please. We come to a very known idea about public speaking or verbal communication, which is called the elevator pitch technique. Some people call it the elevator speech. So an elevator pitch or elevator speech is a short speech. It's called also elevator statement. It's all about the elevator, because how long can you stay in an elevator? Maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds. That's the most probably, unless you are in a high-rise building and you stay there a couple minutes. So when we say an elevator pitch technique, it should be, we're talking about a very short description of an idea, or let's say advocacy idea, that explains the concept in a way such as any listener to you can understand it in a short period of time. Now, not in every verbal communication you use the elevator pitch technique, but it is important to be aware of it, to know how to tailor it, to know when and how to use it, because you will sometimes face circumstances where the person you want to convey the message to is in front of you, and in a couple seconds, someone else will come and talk to that person, and you need to really be ready to convey your idea in seconds, in less than a minute or a maximum a minute. And of course, the reason why it's called like that, it's because it is short, but you need to remember, it always starts about you. It's, let me go to the next slide, because this topic is so large that I'm taking a lot of time. So the 5 elevator pitch ideas. First and foremost, introduce yourself. The person should not know who you are. When you get to that person, as short as the time may be, you need to start by stating, I am so and so, I am, and if you want the impact to be about diabetes, you can start by saying, I am living with diabetes, with type 1 diabetes, or I take care of someone living with type 2 diabetes, or I am a diabetes advocate. Then explain what you do. And practice here means to practice your message before, not in front of the person. So that you need to be careful for, and do not forget to follow up. You spoke to that person, remember who that person is, preferably take notes of that, so later on you can revisit with that person through an email or a phone call, depending on the situation, and talk about this. Next, please. How to present your advocacy strategy in 60 seconds. This is similar to the elevator pitch. Keep it simple, clear, and concise. You may notice that I'm repeating because those points are very important. In a few but very strong sentences, you need to explain it all. So stand out from the crowd, as I mentioned, like let's say you want to grab the attention of someone, you can start by saying, I am living with diabetes, or do you have someone in your family? I'm sure you have someone related to you living with diabetes. You grab the attention of the person so you can go on, and put yourself in the listener's shoes. So if you're talking to one person, you see this person looking at the watch, maybe they are in a rush. Don't stress it. Leave it for another time. The opportunity will come. Adapt your speech. So if in the first response you noted that the person is not interested, in a hurry, you can say, okay, I hope we get the chance to discuss this later on. Or if the person tells you, oh, wow, what a coincidence, I'm an endocrinologist, he or she are opening a door for more conversation, and be ready to answer any type of question. Okay, next, please. What are the benefits? Definitely, the benefits are too many, but I will mention few. It makes sharing the information, in this case about health advocacy, much more efficient. When you use clear, honest communication between patients and provider, that paves the way for a better and much accurate diagnosis. Because if you communicate well with your doctor, the diagnosis will be more precise, and thus the doctor can take better treatment decisions. When it's an enhanced patient safety and improved clinical performance are two of the outcomes and benefits of verbal communication. Improved patient satisfaction is definitely one of those outcomes, and better results, pardon me, with your advocacy strategy. So the golden rules we spoke about have these outcomes, which every single one of them are so important. Next, please. In conclusion, you will need to have effective verbal communication skills, even if it is only to visit your doctor's clinic. So don't think, I'm not a public speaker. I don't speak to large audiences. Why should I work on my verbal communication skills? Every person, especially people living with diabetes or any other disease, need to have good verbal communication skills to explain well their situation. And if you need to speak to an audience, even more. And furthermore, the verbal communication is crucial to convey any advocacy message and will help you achieve the desired result. It will help you convey the message, and also it will help you get to your goals, to the SMART goals we discussed earlier. And remember, if you want to make it happen, you need to know how to convey the message. By this sentence, I'm saying no matter what your goal is, no matter what you want to achieve, no matter what the idea is about, if you are conveying a message, waiting for a certain goal or hoping for a certain outcome, you will make it happen if you convey the message properly. And I will end with this quote that I really think is absolutely awesome. If you just communicate, you can get by. It's like, yes, you may do well if you simply communicate, but if you communicate skillfully, you can work miracles. And we do need miracles in diabetes advocacy. So please work on your verbal communication skills. Those are some of my references, and I really appreciate your listening, and I will wait for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for an excellent presentation. Just for everyone, we mentioned this at the beginning, but we are going to be sharing the slides. So yes, everyone is going to have that handy because there is a lot of information. So yeah, I think that's going to be helpful for everyone. So a lot of interesting things that you were saying, Jackie. I especially noted two of them. This positive approach, I think that's very important on emails and also orally. And well, I think in general in life, it's a good right approach to have always, but especially when you want to communicate ideas, projects, that's very important. And also what you were saying about tailoring your message to the recipient. We were talking about this this morning in the team, Bruno, Isor, and I, how you can not use the same message for two different people. You always need to tailor that depending on who is going to receive it and also what do you want from the other person. So yeah, that's something very, very important. We have received not many questions, actually. It looks like we communicated very well, but we have 4 of them. And what we are going to do now, Bruno, when you can, if you can just invite everyone to share their webcams, because we would like to see all of you. I think we have 38 people now, which is great. Normally, we are between 20 and 30 people in the Advocacy Academy sessions, but today we had a bit more. So that's fantastic. I don't see anyone else so far. Okay, I'm not sure if Isa, you or I can open or invite everyone else to open the webcams. In the meantime, I'm just compiling all the different questions that we have received. Well, we had a lot of thank you messages also for you, Jackie, on the chat.
Oh.
Need to leave for other meetings. So
thank you. It's a great opportunity to me, actually. And for those who don't know, my PhD is in communications and public relations. So this topic is absolutely fascinating to me. And I love to be discussing it and help other people to master the communication skills in general, whether written or verbal. And you know, something funny I want to mention, I mentioned it very briefly, and maybe some people smiled or laughed when they heard it, is to practice in front of the mirror. Actually, it's one of the techniques I used to send as a practice, a home practice to my students when I used to teach public relations. And it would do wonders because you are your best critic. So if you, let's say the elevator pitch, it's a very short message. If you stand in front of the mirror, no one better than you to judge if you're doing well or not. You will learn to relax the shoulders. You will learn to relax your features, to breathe normally. You can also watch your tone of voice. You will see how your appearance looks. It's really amazing how much that can help you.
Totally. And I agree with you also, these conversations in your head when you are all the time presenting a message and changing things. Yeah, that's super important. Okay, now I think, Bruno, everyone is invited, right, to share your webcam. I see Anna already. Hola, Anna.
I'm making them panelists, and in order for them to be able to share their webcams, they need to accept.
Yeah, Anna is mentioning practicing in front of the mirror and recording yourself. Yes, absolutely. Record yourself or go back if you've done a short interview or something and watch it. So you can see, was I sitting properly? Was I talking too fast? Was I breathing normally? So many little things, or they may seem as little things, but they absolutely help you to improve your communication skills.
Yes, of course. Let's start. We have received 5 questions. You are still on time to leave more questions in the Q&A. Please don't leave it in the chat because it's moving quite fast, so it's very difficult to track. So we have one question. Let's go first of all with one from Ridi Modi. I'm seeing you already. I'm seeing your webcam open actually. So maybe you want to unmute yourself and actually ask the question yourself.
And hello, Ridi. I just met her in person in India a couple weeks ago, and it was wonderful to meet her. Such an active lady. Yes, please unmute yourself, Ridi. Yeah. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Jackie and everyone else on the team, Bruno and Beatrice and Izor. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your names correctly, but it's been wonderful this evening to hear you out. And the session by Dr. Jackie was fantastic. It was really nice to meet you in person. And I'm so excited to be a Blue Circle Voice member with the IDF. This is my first session, and I'm looking forward to many more.
That's perfect. Knowing how active you are, I'm sure you're an added value as well as everything else, everybody else attending here today. I see that Lucy is writing about, okay, let me see if I can still read this. Can heal type 1 diabetes by using herbal medicine. Okay, thank you for asking this. I will not read it all, but I will tell you, yes, some people say, you know, cinnamon does miracle for diabetes. Is that the right message? No, because I've heard of people stopping insulin and boiling cinnamon and getting cinnamon teas every day, thinking that it will do the miracles. Every time a person speaks about something that may help in diabetes, please end your sentence by saying consult with your doctor, and remember those things can help and support your treatment. They do not mean that you have to stop your treatment at any rate. This is very important. And some people do the mistake of not clarifying after they give this opinion. But please, nowadays, you can go to the internet and check if that information is right. But I don't trust 100% what's on the internet either. So ultimately, go back to your doctor, please. Never skip that step. Go back to your doctor. If it's something about eating habits and they tell you, put olive oil on this, do this, lemon, I don't know what, go back to your dietitian. The expert, the healthcare professionals are your resources. So if you hear something, be curious, ask about it, but most importantly, go to the professional to recommend to you. Do you want to go through the questions?
Sorry, Jackie, one thing to add on that question from Lucy, which I think is very interesting, and a lot of people ask us about this even during other online events. Also, refer them to the IDF website. So we have information about this. You can explain, look, this is what doctor says, and also this is what international organizations on this topic say. So I think it's important that you use all of these resources. You can use the atlas as well, because there are a lot of there's a lot of information about this. So as Jackie is saying, please use the right information and just share it and share it and share it until people do not trust all those misconceptions. I do have Jackie, one question for you.
One more thing, Bea, if you allow me. If you think doctors don't need communication skills, you are making a mistake. They do. And it's very hard, actually, to convince them to take workshops or courses about communication skills. They do have the information. We trust their information, but sometimes conveying the message can need a little bit more effort. So I've been there. I've trained doctors to public speaking, to present better, but not all of them are open to this. So I understand your concern, Lucy, but do not lose hope. We are always positive. We keep hammering until we get what we want, right?
Yes, totally, Jackie, and you're right on that. Doctors could actually be great advocates, but many of them lack these communication skills.
Yeah.
We have a question for you, Jackie, from Tino Tenda. He wrote it, I think, on the chat. I'm going to read it for you because he's saying he cannot really open his webcam. So how do you deal with a difficult audience? So sometimes people will...
I'm sorry, with what?
With a difficult audience. Some people argue, some people are going to be talking during the presentation and disturbing the rest of the audience and the flow. Some people can interrupt you, make side comments. What do you do in that case?
That is actually an excellent question, and it can happen. You might think very unlikely to happen. It can happen. What I tell you here, nobody can fight with you if you are polite, if you are positive, and if you receive criticism well. So even if someone is being aggressive and you have a half smile on your face, you are showing attention, you are saying, thank you for your message, I really respect your opinion. You cannot share the opinion, but you can respect it. And if you answer politely, eventually the person will feel awkward and they will stop being aggressive. If there are more than one person doing that, then you still have to be very patient, appeal to the last nerve you have to be patient, breathe in the process, never show anger, any sign of anger. You are there to convey a message. This is your ultimate goal. So you need to put up with everything in between in order to get to your goal. And as I said, if you're polite, eventually they will stop their aggressiveness. If you're nice, if you're positive, this is the counter attack that you are giving. Do we have other questions?
We have another one for you, and then we have a few more for the IDF team. So we have one question from YLD alumni Tasul from Bangladesh. So he's asking, so you were saying before that if you want to speak with someone, but the person is not really receptive to speaking with you, maybe you should stop. But he's asking what to do if the information that you have is really important and you really feel that it should be conveyed. It could be the case, for example, of what we were talking about, of all these misconceptions about type 1 diabetes being cured by traditional medicine, etc. So what to do if you really think you need to share the message?
Okay, obviously that is different between one person and another, but here there is a key component in you before seeing what's wrong in the person in your audience. You need to work on your self-confidence. So if you show self-confidence when you are speaking, if you have what we discussed earlier, a concise, precise message, if you have short but straight to the point ideas, then very unlikely you will get this reaction. And if you still do, appeal to your patient, breathe deeply, smile, be positive, do not argue aggressively, do not use any, any type of negative connotations in your speech. Trust me, you will get through with your message at least. Maybe you will not get to the goal with this person, but you will get through to convey your message. Those things can never go wrong. Being polite, smiling, knowing your material, knowing what is your message, knowing every answer to every possible question they will ask you. If you are talking diabetes advocacy about your country and they tell you, so how many people with diabetes live in your country? You cannot say, I don't know. You need to be prepared. So there are always these two components, the audience, be it a person or a group of people, and there is you. You need to work on yourself, then take care of the audience. So this is what I would say.
Yeah, and again, it's a difficult situation, and I guess some of us have been there, having a difficult audience, asking questions not in a nice way. So I think it's also very important not to get nervous and trust in what you have to say, and as you say, have all the information and know everything, because that's going to help you feeling more secure. Rudy,
you know, Bea, sorry to interrupt you. I have a good example of this. One time I was a speaker on the occasion of International Women's Day, and they have specifically requested to speak about my life, how I continued my education at the same time as I was, raising my family, having children and all of that. And when I finished talking about those things, I had a couple good questions. And then one of the ladies raised her hand and she said, oh, so all the merit should go to your husband because obviously he's very supportive. And I was like, what does my husband have to do there? Yes, I know my husband is awesome. He's very supportive. But does that mean I have no credit for going back to university after having 4 kids, after being breastfeeding and changing diaper and studying at the same time? So I was like, thank you. Actually, you have raised a very important point. Yes, the support of the husband or father or brother are very important, but you need to have the initiative. So here's a good example of an aggressive member of the audience versus a big smile and giving the importance to the question, never insulting, never being aggressive. So the same happens with diabetes. If someone might tell you, I don't have anyone in my family with diabetes, why should I care? You need to be prepared and say, sir, diabetes is a silent killer. Plus, I'm sure if you look around well, maybe your neighbors, maybe your extended family members, you will find someone with diabetes. And even if it doesn't happen, I'm sure I will have your empathy when I tell you about this and you go on with your story, Always when you're well prepared, you will get where you want to be.
Thanks for sharing that example, and thank you also for that response on behalf of all women. I was going to ask Rudy a question. So Rudy, you were asking before about whether the emails need to have a standard signature and what is the protocol for the usage of the IDF logo. And maybe Bruno, you want to respond to that one?
Sure. So all of you are part of the IDF network. So you can add on your signatures that you are an IDF BCV member or a YLD, an IDF YLD trainee, mentor, or alumni. For the signature, for the usage of logo, we have the whole copyright policy available at the IDF website. So we highly recommend you to have a look into that before using. And also, I would say that just to keep the signature like light and more straightforward. You don't want to make something really big and add many titles. If you wanna refer to your link to IDF, the IDF team would recommend you to just use an IDF, the network you are part of, and then the word member. So I would say that would be simple, straightforward, and enough for the purpose of disclaiming your link with IDF.
Thank you
Sorry, one thing to add to what Bruno was saying. Well, first of all, avoid saying I'm an IDF BCV, because no one is going to know what is that outside of the community. So refer to the tips that we were sharing before, International Diabetes Federation, Blue Circle Boys member, something like that, just so it's clear for everyone. Regarding the logo, the general response now is that only IDF staff, or for example, Jackie, you can see that at the bottom of her background, there is an IDF logo, because her organization, DIALF, is a member of the IDF MENA region, and in that case, she can use that logo. Normally, Blue Circle Voices and Young Leaders in Diabetes cannot use the IDF logo, but you can say that you are a member of the network.
If I may add something, because we have discussed it at the board extensively, and even for organizations, they cannot use the logo by itself. They need to use the logo that says member of the International Diabetes Federation, as you can see, and we've seen a lot of confusion around this. So please refer to the guidelines about the use of logo, and they are very clear about that. And if you still have doubts, you can always email the office of IDF and ask in details how and when you can use it. It's better to do that than to receive an email telling you why you misused the logo. That would not be really pleasant.
Absolutely.
I want to thank everyone who is thanking me for the comment. Please don't. I am passionate about public speaking. I've taught that in university. I love it. I'm a walking PR feature, and I would love to even have a session about the nonverbal communication skills. Keep that in mind, Bea, Bruno, Izor, because it's something really important, and people tend to neglect that part. So
Yeah.
it's like a group of things that you need to have, and then you can blame the audience if anything happens. But before, complete your part. Take care of your written skills, verbal skills, and non-verbal communication skills. Master your speech, master your ideas, your message, tailor it in the best way possible, have different type of messages for different audiences, different stakeholders, and then you will see how the reception is going to be completely on a different level.
Yes, we have two more questions, but before I just wanted to read one comment that Riva has made. So she was saying that, of course, she agrees with you, Jackie, that you should always be prepared and know your data to go to meetings and to present a project. But what she says, and she's very right, is that sometimes you are not going to know the answer to a question because it can be tricky, or you just don't remember at that moment. So yeah, you just be open and you say, look, I don't know that at the moment, but I will look it up and I will share that with you. So that's always also a good way to follow up with people when they ask you a question, and you say, okay, I will be sharing this information with you as soon as I find it.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend saying, I don't know. I would say, oh, I'm sure this information is available in the Atlas. If you would like, I can share it with you. If you are kind enough to share with me your email, or I will get back to you on this point, as I need to make sure of this piece of information. So it's always make a positive connotation but be honest, absolutely. Don't speak about something you are not sure of. This is one of the don'ts. Be sure of your information. So.
Okay, the last two questions then. We had one question from Tanzania, from someone that was asking in the email signature, right? Should you use like your professional title, for example, the name of the person and medical doctor, or should you be using an office position, for example, head of the diabetes clinic? Here, I think you can use both. Bruno was saying before not to add a long list, and obviously, yes, no one wants to read 10 lines of all your CV in an email signature. But at the same time, think of who is going to be writing to you on that email address, and then you write that. Maybe you do not need to write medical doctor. You can just write doctor, whatever your name, and then just say head of the diabetes clinic of and the name of the clinic. But yeah, just think about what is more relevant at the moment in which you are in your life. And
can I add something here, please? It depends who is the person, the owner of the email. If it's someone with 30 years experience, yes, absolutely put both and put every relevant information below your signature, of course, avoiding making it too long, but you are entitled to that. If you are a fresh graduate with your first position, you cannot have 10 lines under your name. So those are things you need to be same as with the CV. Someone with less than 5 years experience, your CV should not be more than 1 or 1.5 pages. But if you're someone with 30, 40 years of experience, yes, you are absolutely entitled to have a more extensive CV. But when it comes to me, I recommend even those people with a large experience to make it as brief as they can and put an annex to the CV. That's a different story. We can maybe do something about CV writing.
Yeah, and that would be a good idea for future sessions. The last question comes from Arun. Sis is not sharing her webcam, so let's just read the question. She's asking via email how to politely refuse an invitation or a proposal for collaboration. So what is the most professional way? So I will say the first thing is to respond always to all the questions that you receive, because you will also want to be responded when you write. So even if you are going to say no to that proposal, always respond and be polite and approach it positively. So what Jackie has been saying throughout her presentation, you can say that you do not have the capacity to collaborate at the moment, but also think whether the proposal is interesting or not. Maybe you know that it's 100% something that you are not going to be interested because it's not aligned with your ethics or anything like that. In that case, you can say that, yes, you are not open and you are very sorry, but you wish them very well. But if you are refusing the collaboration because you are just very busy at the moment, do not close the door. Just say that at the moment you're very busy, but you are very interested in keeping updated about the project. And also think about offering to find another potential collaborator among your network, because yeah, maybe someone in Pakistan reaches out to you and they tell you that, yeah, they want to collaborate with a doctor. Well, maybe you are not available, but maybe you can refer them to one of your colleagues who does have the time. So that would be my recommendation. And I don't know, Jackie, if we will have anything further to add on that.
I would simply say always start by thanking the person for considering you for this collaboration, giving importance to the topic. Then you may say, unfortunately, at this time, I am overwhelmed or it overlaps with another project I'm working on. If you would like, as Bea mentioned, I can refer my colleague. Hopefully in future project, I would love to be collaborating. So always on a positive note, always very politely, with courtesy, and always thanking the person for thinking of you. You don't know what is the potential of this person or this company. You might be surprised. They might be a door opener for you, exactly the people you want to be collaborating with. Always give that the benefit of the doubt.
Thanks very much. That's all the time we have for today. Actually, I think we stole 6 minutes from everyone. That's a lot of time because there are a lot of you in the call. So yes, let's just share the last slide with you. We're going to be circulating, as always, the link to the recording on YouTube, the slides, especially today, there was a lot of content there that you may want to take a look at. And also, we're going to be sharing a feedback questionnaire with everyone. We're going to try to send this email early next week. Please respond to the feedback questionnaire. It's super important for us to know what you think about these events, to have an idea and also some metrics of how the network is responding to the Advocacy Academy sessions. And if you have any question, you can send that to our email address. We're very happy to tell you that we're going to have another session very, very soon. This is not going to be an Advocacy Academy session, but a Blue Circle talk. So this is going to be an open conversation between different members of the IDF network. We're going to have Blue Circle Voices and Young Leaders in Diabetes, and it's going to take place on the 24th of January. Which is the International Day of Education, and the topic is going to be why diabetes education matters. You have the QR code in there. If you scan it, you should be able to register. And anyways, we're going to be sending to everyone in the network a save the date on Monday next week. So watch out for that.
Bea, if you allow me, I
Yes.
want to thank each and every one of you, Bruno, Bea, Izor, and everyone with the IDF advocacy team. You are doing a wonderful work. From my side, I give you a big applause, and I'm happy to see the attendance being numerous today so they can benefit, and I'm sure others will look at the recording, but you are doing a great job, and your efforts, I want you to know, are much appreciated. So thank you for all what you're doing. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Jackie. It was great. And we know you're very busy lately and traveling a lot, so we really appreciate it. And we couldn't be doing what we do without all these people in our network who are here today, and the many more that are not attending and will be watching afterwards. I'm sure. So I think that's all the time we had today. We really look forward to seeing you at the next session on January 24. And we will be having many more sessions in 2024. So yes, we look forward to continue collaborating with you. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice rest of the day.